Join me back on the show is UFC heavyweight prospect Juan Adams. What's going on, Juan? You're only about like a week out. How you feeling?
Man, I feel great. Weight's way lower than normal. Well, it's actually like only a couple, 2 or 3 pounds less than normal. But my spirits are a lot higher than usual at this point, so that's good. Got a lot more energy. I'm happy, man. Looking forward to this one.
Before we get into this fight that you have coming up, I wanted to talk about UFC 239. Jorge Masvidal, set
Man,
the record for the fastest knockout. But there's some controversy that comes with that. After he knocked out Ben Askren, he went in there and threw two more punches before the ref stopped the fight. What did you think about the uproar, that people had on social media and made it into a controversy?
honestly, man, I'm on Jorge's side on that one, dude. Like, if you don't like that, that's the nature of this sport, and it's one of those things where you have to recognize if you talk that level of shit, that's one of the repercussions. Like that's always a possibility. I say the same thing whether I'm a fan of the guy or not. Like when you cross those types of lines, you're kind of asking for that kind of treatment. With McGregor, Conor McGregor, Chael Sonnen, guys like that constantly want to push and pester. You got to understand that this sport attracts a certain type of fan to it, and it also attracts a certain type of participant. And if you're willing to go in there and fight a dude half naked in front of over a million people, or not caring who's watching, that's a certain type of dude, and some you cross those types of people, there's going to be consequences, and so the people that aren't fans of that or that don't like that, you don't have to consume it, honestly. And it's on us to kind of we're trying to make the sport more mainstream. Dana White, that's kind of the vision for the UFC right now, is to make the sport more mainstream. So yeah, the trash talking, it attracts more fans, more people to watch in general, but you know it's some of the stuff afterwards is going to offend some people. The more people that are viewing something, the higher probability that you're going to say or do something that offends someone. You're never going to please everyone all the time. So, Masvidal's completely right in what he said, but then the people that are offended, they're also like, that's their right to be offended. But the thing is, you're watching it. So if you don't want to see it, you don't have to watch it. But ultimately, I think everyone kind of overvalues their own opinion a little bit too much. Like when someone tells me that they're offended by something that I say or do, if it's something that I do that's unwilling or unwittingly offending them, I'm just like, all right, well, that wasn't my intention. But, sorry, but in Masvidal's case, like that was 100% his intention. Like he wanted to hurt that guy, and I see it from both sides of the view, but I'm on Masvidal's side with that one.
With the fans that attract, the type of fan is attracted to the sport that we all love. You must get some of the wildest shit, on social media, like the wildest like hate messages towards you. What is the craziest thing you have received?
Most of it is really. Oh man, I've gotten all kind of crazy stuff. Like I've gotten messages from LGBTQ community, every letter on everyone on the spectrum, all spectrums of sexuality, gender, whatever, have approached me on social media. And that's not even so much crazy. It was just like kind of shocking to me because you don't ever expect that. It's not on your radar at all until somebody just like hits you in the face with it. I'm like, whoa, hey, I don't like that. Stop that. But a lot of the stuff, like from Hardy's fans or fans of people that I'm fighting, they'll get on there, and most of them are just dumb. Like it's easy with Hardy's fans because they're all really dumb. Like they're either like they have clear mental disabilities, or it's like high school kids that can't get laid and are angry with women, so they support Greg hitting them. People like that. It's a lot of clowns on his part, and they're really dumb. Like they're not smart at all. So for me, it's always shocking that he even has fans. But so that's the craziest thing from that aspect. But the other thing that I think is crazy is that people that don't do this for a living or have no background in martial arts or have never fought in their lives really want to get on there and like tell me how to do my job. It's so weird, and I always break it down to people like this, like so say these are people from all walks of life. So let's just say it's an architect, for instance, or something like that, or someone that's a builder or a financial planner, someone with a day job like that tries to come and tell me how to fight because they wrestled in high school or they've been watching fights for a long time. That's like the equivalent of me saying, "Oh, well, I play with Legos, and I think that applies to your job. So let me go tell you how to build this building." Or that's like, "Oh, I took an economics class in high school. Let me go tell you how to expand people's portfolios." It's stuff like that. You don't understand that there's a fine line between taking an interest in something, doing it as a hobby recreationally, being somewhat competitive in it, and then being a professional at it. And even in terms of being a professional, there are certain people that I'm not going to critique. Like me, I will never critique John Jones. I will never critique a UFC Hall of Famer because they're at a level that I aspire to be, right? So it's stuff like that, and it's just that's always been crazy to me, the logic of some people, or how inflated their opinion can be, or their knowledge of the sport. And the other thing too is like, there's people that want to take stances and die on these hills of stances or facts or opinions that can be quantitatively proven wrong. That's what's craziest to me. Like people will say stupid stuff or have these wild takes on my fights or whatever, and then statistically, like the numbers just don't support that claim at all. And that's what blows my mind. So that's been the craziest thing.
Well, I'm pretty sure, after your last fight, when you experienced your first blemish on your MMA record, probably people are coming at you with all different angles, critiquing you. And I thought that that fight was a prime example of what is wrong with MMA judging. Because if you look at the numbers, if you look at the numbers, facts, you didn't lose that fight. You know what I mean? Like, if you look at the strikes landed, significant strikes at 72-46, that's clearly, you won the fight. Do you see it now that when you look back at that fight, like, that's not a loss. You don't really take it as a loss.
Well, for me, I knew going into that fight that I was going to have to finish that guy or beat him in such a convincing manner because that's what happens when you fight in someone's home country. And ultimately, if I had stopped one of those takedowns, that's a split decision at worst, right? The first time he took me down, I got up and I got up. I took the fight right back to him. I continued to land on the feet. I've seen plenty of fights where the striking advantage wasn't that significant, and the guy still won a split decision. So ultimately, it falls in the judges, but you know, it's not one of those things where it was so convincing a win for me that I can go around screaming I got robbed. Dude, like I've rewatched that fight dozens of times. Do I feel that I won it? Yeah, I do. But there's also a lot of people that say, well, it's mixed martial arts and you didn't win all areas of that fight. I'm like, well, neither did he. Like, if he won the grappling advantage and I won the striking advantage, then it goes into what do you value more. And yeah, he took me down 2 times, and I didn't take him down at all. But I feel like if you hit somebody over 100 times and they don't even hit you 100, like you should win that area. But you also have to look at damage done. His face was pretty messed up after that fight. Mine wasn't. Um, but you never know what the judges are looking for. We as fighters don't know what the judges are looking for. So it's our job to go in there and perform. And ultimately, that wasn't my best performance. That was probably my worst performance. Like, and that's including some of my amateur fights. But It's a learning experience for me. I was pretty crushed by it. It made me change my lifestyle completely after that fight. Normally I get up to about 295 or 305 after a fight. I hit 288 this time and was right back in the gym the next week. I was training. I've been hovering between 280 and 285 all camp. I'm 278 right now. So it's just little things like that. I went. It got me back into wrestling. I've actually trained here. I brought back one of my wrestling coaches that I used to get me to the level of wrestling I was at. Been working with him again. We're cleaning up my striking. We're working more on cardio, cleaning up the nutrition, and really making this more of a lifestyle. So ultimately, yeah, it sucks that I lost. It sucks that I did, but the fact that most people think that I won that fight softens it a little bit. And the fact that I've improved so much since then also, it's kind of a blessing if that happens.
So it's safe to say that that last fight is a pivotal moment in your career. A moment that you can look back later on, in the future and say, "Hey, that fight changed me to become the champ."
Exactly. It really changed me. And it made me kind of view this more as a profession. Once I got to the UFC, man, this became so much more of a job for me, and I wasn't really enjoying the sport so much anymore. It's training sucked. Everything got harder. All my coaches were like, "You made it here. Now you have to work harder." So everyone's demanding so much more from you. You only have so much energy, right? You only have so many hours in a day. Your body can only do so much naturally. I rarely take any supplements, even protein. I don't like taking just because of the risk of obtaining supplements. So it's hard doing it all naturally. Your body can only take so much. Yeah, your body adapts, you get stronger and all that, but it comes to a breaking point and it hits that really dull, boring spot where it's just not fun anymore. And now, I'm enjoying the training again, enjoying the thrill. It doesn't feel like just a job to me. So I'm hoping I can maintain that and continue it. And I hope I don't reach that point again.
Definitely will. Now, your next fight, you have the man that you've been wanting to face for a while. Do you think that the UFC had this fight planned the whole time, no matter the result or the outcome of your last fight?
I really don't know. From what I gather, this fight only came to fruition because his people, his camp asked for it. They probably only asked for it because I've been antagonizing this man online for a while. But regardless of how it came about, whatever their motives are, I try not to look too much into that. I'm just grateful, that I got the fight, that I got a fight. I would have been happy for any fight. But the fact that they gave me a fight so quickly and against somebody that's a really easy matchup for me feels great, And one of my biggest complaints since I've signed with them is not having fights.
Mm.
I signed July 31st, so August of 2018, and I wanted to fight. I had to wait 5 months to get a fight. My UFC debut was December 15th of 2018, and then my next fight was 5 months later. What was it, May 4th of 2019? So to go from 2 5-month layoffs to a 2.5-month layoff was huge for me, and so I was just happy to have another fight so quick.
You've been open, with your dislike with Hardy. Have you ever actually gotten a response from him directly or from anybody, from any of his friends or his family?
No, his baby mama messages me. One of the mothers of his children messages me. But one of the cowards tweeted something at me. Um, and a lot of his fans message me or whatever. One of his coaches tries to talk shit on Facebook. I get screenshots of that, but he don't really respond to a whole lot of it, and it's probably better for him. I'm definitely a lot smarter than he is and wittier. So if he tried to engage me on that platform, it wouldn't end well for him.
When you look back at Greg Hardy's first few fights in the UFC, how could you describe the style he brings? What kind of style does he bring to the octagon?
He's just a bully, it's part of his personality. He is a front runner. He's looking to land that right hand. That's it. He wants to swarm you. He wants to hit you fast, hard, and get you out of there. There's nothing wrong with that style. He's like a very much less polished Derek Lewis, much less skilled version of Derek Lewis. And also, the guys he's fighting have all been afraid of him. Other than Alan Crowder, I think that's the only guy that really took a fight to him at all. And, you know, people can say whatever they want about Hardy's power, but he couldn't knock out Alan Crowder in however much time. And then Crowder's next fight, he got knocked out in 10 seconds. So that's just to tell you some. It's a little bit indicative right there. Most of his fights haven't really been clean knockouts since going pro. It's been a lot of swarming. So he likes to swarm his opponents. They kind of back up. They're afraid of him. I'm not afraid of him. None of my fights have you ever seen me really back up like that. No matter how many times I get hit, I keep pressing forward. Against De La Rocha, against Teed, against Bueller, everyone. Even in my first few fights where I was going against guys much more skilled on the feet than me, I won those fights because it was just relentless pressure, relentless movement forward, and that's how I take this fight. I'm gonna take it to him. I'm obviously not gonna walk right into a right hand. That's just poor skill. But um, you know, every time he hits me, he's gonna get hit back.
Yeah, you mentioned earlier that you made some tweaks, some adjustments to your training and your preparations. I also noticed that you've been working with a hypnotist, as part of that. Why bring in someone with the mental aspect of the game?
You know, I've suffered a lot of. I deal with a lot of anxiety in my day to day life. It's been something I've dealt with most of my life. Anxiety, and so I kind of wanted to get to the bottom of it. I do deal with a little. I used to deal with a lot of performance anxiety, and I would kind of get in my own head about a lot of this stuff. To the point where like I already have issues sleeping. Like it's very hard for me to sleep more than 6 hours. But during fight camps, there's so many nights where I'm only getting 2 or 3 hours of sleep because I'm having anxiety attacks and stuff. So working with a hypnotist, like this entire camp, I haven't had a single one. So the mental aspect and just kind of rebuilding, rebuilding that confidence, trying to get that swagger back that I had when I was coming up through it. Because I used to be like ready to fight at the drop of a hat. I'd fight anyone, anytime. And now, for my last fight, well, my last two fights, I just wasn't really there mentally. I was there physically, but going through the fight, I'm just like, I just want to get this over with. I don't want to be here. Whereas before, I was truly enjoying it. The fight was the reward for a long camp. Whereas after that, it was just like the end of a long camp. It wasn't something to celebrate. So I wanted to get to the bottom of that and work on that. And so working with the hypnotist, I mean, a lot of people say hypnotist. I don't like to call it because it's a lot. It's really more therapeutic than anything. It's just resolving a lot of those things that were causing anxiety and a lot of those just mental gaps and mental holes and outlook issues. So a lot of it was the way I was looking at things. So all of that, working with Dominique, the hypnotist, and Mind Guided Life is what he's got online. It really, that paradigm shift helped a lot.
Were you a believer? I know that you've had a few sessions. Were you a believer after the first session? It like instantly affected you.
Yeah, yeah. After the first session, I noticed that a lot of the stuff that I was getting myself worked up over, I just wasn't getting that worked up anymore, and that was awesome. A lot of the you can feel a lot of physical manifestations of anxiety, and I just wasn't having that. I was a lot calmer, you know. And for me, like my anxiety is so bad, like or it was so bad that there were injuries that I had from college that would like flare up if I got too stressed out, and that hasn't happened. So after the first session, I was all on board with it.
Well, we're gonna get to see a new transformed Juan Adams on July 20th, UFC on ESPN 4, San Antonio, Texas. Have you fought in San Antonio? Because, it's not that far. What is it, like an hour flight?
Yeah, it's like now we're actually driving up there. It's like a 3 hour drive, if that. It's really like 2.5 hours. The way we drive is it's like 2 hours, but it's a pretty quick drive. And I have never fought there before. I actually don't visit San Antonio. I've only been there once for fights, and it was to watch some fights. Someone gave me free tickets. Um, I'm actually not a huge fan of San Antonio. It's because I mean, I live in Houston. It's like the coolest city in America. So I don't, I never really traveled a whole lot in Texas because I got everything I want here. So, but San Antonio is definitely one of those. If there's four cities you visit when you come to Texas, it's Dallas, Houston, San Antonio, and Austin. And so it'll be cool to fight there, go experience it a little bit. We'll be there all week, so maybe the town will grow on me a little bit. I'll start to enjoy it a lot more. But I'm a Houston guy, so I've always loved Houston. Never really seen a reason to go anywhere else.
All right, Juan. Well, I appreciate the time and good luck on your fight and good luck on the rest of your bright future that you have, man.
Thanks, man. No problem. Have a good one.